The air was filled with the scent of pine and cinnamon, the twinkling lights from the Christmas tree casting a warm glow throughout our living room. It was the annual Christmas party that Kate and I had been hosting for the past 10 years. Our friends and neighbors mingled, their laughter and chatter creating a symphony of holiday cheer. Kate looked stunning in her red dress, her blonde hair falling in soft waves around her shoulders. She was the perfect hostess, moving gracefully from one group to another, ensuring everyone felt welcomed. I watched her from across the room, a glass of whiskey in my hand, feeling a swell of pride and love. We had built a good life together, filled with love, trust, and mutual respect. Or so I thought. That evening, a new face joined our gathering. Mark, our recently moved-in neighbor, was introduced to me by Kate. "Ethan, this is Mark. He just moved in next door last month," she said, her hand resting lightly on Mark's arm. I shook his hand, noting his firm grip and friendly smile. "Nice to meet you, Mark. Welcome to the neighborhood," I said, genuinely happy to make a new friend. Little did I know, this introduction would mark the beginning of the end of my marriage. Mark fit right in with our group. He was charming, witty, and had a way of making everyone feel at ease. Over the next few weeks, he became a regular presence in our lives. Kate and I invited him over for dinners, and he often joined us for weekend barbecues. They seemed to get along splendidly, sharing a passion for art and literature that I, as an engineer, could never quite match. At first, I appreciated the friendship. It was nice to see Kate so animated and engaged in conversations that often left me feeling out of my depth. But as time went on, I started to notice small changes. Kate began spending more time at Mark's house, claiming they were working on some art project or another. She seemed happier, more vibrant, and while I was glad to see her so alive, a nagging feeling of unease began to grow within me. One evening, after a particularly late night out with Mark, Kate came home looking flustered. "We lost track of time," she explained, avoiding my gaze. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I should have called." "It's all right," I said, forcing a smile. "I just wish you'd let me know. I was worried." As the weeks turned into months, my suspicions grew. Kate's late-night outings with Mark became more frequent, and her explanations increasingly vague. She was distant, often lost in her thoughts, and our once warm and loving relationship started to feel cold and strained. One night, while Kate was in the shower, I did something I had never done before. I checked her phone. My hands trembled as I scrolled through her messages, my heart pounding in my chest. There it was, the confirmation of my worst fears. The texts between Kate and Mark were explicit and left no room for doubt. They had been seeing each other behind my back for months. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. The woman I had loved and trusted for 11 years had betrayed me. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks, and I sank to the floor, clutching her phone, my vision blurred with tears. When Kate emerged from the shower, I was waiting for her in the living room. Her face paled when she saw the phone in my hand. "Ethan, I can explain," she started, but I cut her off. "Explain what, Kate? That you've been cheating on me with Mark? That you've been lying to me for months?" My voice was trembling with anger and pain. She sat down, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. I never meant for this to happen. It just did." "How long?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "About 6 months," she admitted, her head bowed in shame. I felt a cold fury settle over me. 6 months, I repeated. 6 months of lies and deceit. "Why, Kate? Why would you do this to us?" "I don't know," she sobbed. "I felt lost, and Mark, he made me feel alive again. I know that's no excuse, but it's the truth." The room was silent, except for her quiet sobs. I felt numb, the reality of the situation slowly sinking in. Our marriage was over. There was no coming back from this. "I can't do this anymore," I said finally, my voice devoid of emotion. "I can't live with someone who would betray me like this. We're done, Kate." She looked up at me, her eyes wide with shock and despair. "Ethan, please, we can work through this. We can go to counseling. We can try to fix this." But I knew in my heart that it was too late. The trust that was the foundation of our relationship had been shattered, and there was no repairing it. "I'm sorry, Kate. I just can't." That night, I packed a bag and left. I stayed with a friend for a few days, trying to process everything that had happened. The pain was unbearable, but I knew I had made the right decision. I couldn't stay in a marriage that was built on lies. Over the next few months, I moved to a new city and started a new job. It was difficult at first, but slowly, I began to rebuild my life. I made new friends, found new hobbies, and gradually, the pain started to fade. Looking back, I realized that the end of my marriage, as devastating as it was, had given me the opportunity to start fresh. I learned a lot about myself during that time, about my strength, my resilience, and my capacity for forgiveness. And while the scars of that betrayal will always be with me, I have found a new sense of peace and happiness. As for Kate, I don't know what became of her. We haven't spoken since the divorce, but I hope she found what she was looking for, and that she, too, has found a way to heal. In the end, life goes on, and though it may take time, the wounds of the past do eventually heal, leaving us stronger and wiser for the journey we've endured. The move to a new city was both terrifying and liberating. I found a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood, far removed from the memories of the life I had built with Kate. My new job at an engineering firm kept me busy during the day, but the nights were the hardest. Alone in my apartment, the silence was deafening, and the thoughts of betrayal haunted me. To cope, I threw myself into my work. The office was filled with bright young minds, and I quickly found myself immersed in challenging projects that demanded my full attention. My colleagues were friendly, and soon I began forming new friendships. There was Mike, a seasoned engineer with a wicked sense of humor, and Laura, a recent graduate whose enthusiasm was contagious. They helped me feel less isolated, and slowly, I began to see a future beyond the pain. Despite the progress I was making at work, the weekends were still a struggle. The quietness of my apartment felt oppressive, so I decided to explore the city. I visited museums, took long walks in the park, and even signed up for a cooking class. It was during one of these classes that I met Olivia. Olivia was different from anyone I had ever met. She was vibrant and full of life, with a laugh that could light up a room. We partnered up for a cooking exercise, and as we chopped vegetables and stirred sauces, I found myself smiling genuinely for the first time in months. We exchanged numbers at the end of the class and began meeting regularly for coffee and dinners. Our friendship grew quickly, and I found myself opening up to her in ways I hadn't with anyone since Kate. Olivia had a way of making me feel seen and understood, and her positivity was infectious. She listened without judgment as I shared my story, and she offered a fresh perspective that helped me see things in a new light. "Maybe this was a blessing in disguise," she said one evening as we sat in a cozy cafe. "I know it doesn't feel like it now, but sometimes the worst things that happen to us can lead to the best things." Her words resonated with me. I had been so focused on the betrayal and the pain that I hadn't allowed myself to see the possibilities that lay ahead. With Olivia's encouragement, I started to believe that I could find happiness again. As our friendship deepened, I began to notice the little things about her that I admired. Her kindness, her intelligence, and her unwavering support made me realize that I was starting to feel something more than just friendship. But I was hesitant. The wounds from my past were still fresh, and I didn't want to rush into anything. One evening, after another delightful cooking session, Olivia and I took a walk through the park. The air was crisp, and the stars twinkled above us. We found a bench and sat down, the silence between us comfortable and reassuring. "Ethan, can I ask you something?" Olivia's voice was soft, almost hesitant. "Of course," I replied, turning to face her. "Do you ever think about dating again? About opening yourself up to someone new?" Her question caught me off guard. I had been so focused on healing and rebuilding my life that I hadn't seriously considered the idea of dating. But as I looked into her eyes, filled with genuine concern and interest, I felt a flicker of hope. "I have thought about it," I admitted, "but I'm not sure I'm ready. What if I get hurt again?" Olivia reached out and took my hand, her touch warm and comforting. "There's always a risk of getting hurt, Ethan. But there's also the possibility of finding something amazing. You deserve to be happy, and you deserve to find someone who truly appreciates you." Her words stayed with me long after that night. I realized that I couldn't let the fear of the past dictate my future. If I wanted to find happiness again, I had to be willing to take a chance. A few weeks later, I gathered the courage to ask Olivia out on a proper date. We went to a small, charming restaurant, and as we shared a bottle of wine and talked late into the night, I felt a sense of peace and joy that I hadn't experienced in a long time. Our relationship blossomed, and I found myself falling for her more each day. With Olivia by my side, I began to truly heal. The scars from my past were still there, but they no longer defined me. I learned to trust again, to open my heart, and to embrace the possibilities of the future. And for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful and excited about what lay ahead. Our relationship wasn't without its challenges. There were moments of doubt and fear, but we faced them together, with honesty and understanding. Olivia taught me the importance of communication and patience, and I was determined not to let my past mistakes dictate our future. Months passed, and our bond grew stronger. We traveled together, explored new hobbies, and supported each other through thick and thin. Olivia became my confidant, my partner, and my best friend. She showed me that love could be pure and beautiful, and that it was worth fighting for. Looking back, I realized that the pain I had endured had led me to something truly wonderful. It had taught me resilience, strength, and the capacity for forgiveness. And most importantly, it had brought Olivia into my life, a gift I would forever cherish. As I stood on the balcony of our apartment, watching the city lights twinkle below, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Life had a way of surprising you, of taking you through dark valleys only to lead you to beautiful mountaintops. And as I held Olivia close, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, with love and unwavering support. The past had shaped me, but it didn't define me. I had found the strength to move on, to rebuild, and to love again. And in that journey, I discovered that the best was yet to come. Despite the happiness I found with Olivia, the remnants of my past occasionally cast shadows over our relationship. Trust, once broken, is not easily restored, and there were moments when doubts crept into my mind. Was I truly over Kate? Could I ever fully trust again? These questions lingered, sometimes intruding on my thoughts at the most unexpected times. One evening, after a long day at work, I returned home to find Olivia waiting for me with a surprise. She had cooked a beautiful dinner, complete with candles and soft music playing in the background. "I thought we could use a special night," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. As we sat down to eat, I felt a pang of guilt. Olivia had been nothing but supportive and loving, yet here I was, still haunted by the ghost of my past. I tried to push the doubts aside, focusing on the present and the incredible woman in front of me, but it was easier said than done. A few weeks later, we attended a friend's wedding. The ceremony was beautiful, and as I watched the couple exchange vows, I couldn't help but think about my own failed marriage. The emotions were overwhelming, and I found myself withdrawing, lost in memories of Kate and the life we had once planned together. Olivia noticed my change in demeanor. "Are you okay?" she asked, her concern evident. "I'm fine," I lied, forcing a smile. "Just a lot on my mind." She didn't press further, but I could see the worry in her eyes. That night, as we lay in bed, I felt the weight of my unresolved feelings pressing down on me. I needed to confront them, to find closure, but I didn't know how. A few days later, while sorting through some old boxes, I came across a photo album from my time with Kate. Flipping through the pages, I was flooded with memories, some happy, others painful. I realized that I had never truly let go of the past, and it was preventing me from fully embracing my future with Olivia. Determined to find closure, I decided to visit my old home, the place where Kate and I had built our life together. It had been months since the divorce, and I hadn't returned since. As I stood outside the house, I felt a mix of emotions, nostalgia, sadness, and a strange sense of finality. The new owners had done some renovations, and the house looked different, almost unrecognizable. It was a stark reminder that life goes on, that things change, and that I needed to move forward. I sat in my car for a long time, reflecting on everything that had happened. The betrayal, the pain, the anger, they were all part of my past, but they didn't have to define my future. I realized that in order to truly heal, I needed to forgive, not just Kate, but myself as well. Forgive myself for the mistakes I made, for the trust I placed in her, and for the time it took me to move on. When I returned to our apartment, Olivia was waiting for me. I took her hands in mine and looked into her eyes, feeling a renewed sense of clarity and purpose. "I went back to the old house today," I said quietly. She looked surprised but didn't interrupt. "I needed to confront my past," To find closure, I continued. I've been carrying so much pain and doubt, and it's not fair to you or to us. I want to move forward, to build a future with you. But I needed to let go of the past first. Olivia's eyes filled with tears, and she hugged me tightly. I understand, Ethan. I'm here for you, no matter what. That moment marked a turning point in our relationship. I felt lighter, freer, and more committed to our future together. I knew there would still be challenges, but I was ready to face them with Olivia by my side. In the weeks that followed, I made a conscious effort to focus on the present and the future. I took up new hobbies, joined a gym, and even started therapy to work through my lingering issues. Olivia and I grew closer, our bond strengthened by the honesty and vulnerability we shared. One evening, as we sat on the balcony watching the sunset, Olivia turned to me and said, Ethan, I want you to know how much I appreciate everything you've done. I see how hard you're working to move on, and it means the world to me. Her words touched me deeply. I couldn't have done it without you, I replied. You've been my rock, and I can't imagine my life without you. As we held each other, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. I had been given a second chance at love, and I was determined not to squander it. The past had shaped me, but it no longer defined me. I was ready to embrace the future with an open heart and an unwavering commitment to making the most of every moment. In the end, I realized that life is a journey filled with unexpected twists and turns. It's not always easy, but it's the challenges that make us stronger and the love we find along the way that makes it all worthwhile. And as I looked into Olivia's eyes, I knew that no matter what lay ahead, we would face it together, with love, trust, and a renewed sense of hope. The weeks following my visit to the old house were transformative. I felt like a weight had been lifted, allowing me to be more present and engaged in my relationship with Olivia. But life has a way of testing our resolve, and soon I was faced with a challenge that threatened to unravel everything I had worked so hard to rebuild. One afternoon while at work, I received an unexpected phone call. It was Kate. My heart skipped a beat as I answered, unsure of what to expect. Ethan, it's Kate, she said, her voice filled with an emotion I couldn't quite place. I know this is unexpected, but can we meet? There's something I need to tell you. Every instinct told me to refuse, but something in her tone piqued my curiosity. All right, I agreed reluctantly. Where and when? We arranged to meet at a small cafe downtown, a neutral place where I felt comfortable. As I waited for her to arrive, my mind raced with possibilities. What could she possibly have to say after all this time? When Kate walked in, she looked different. There was a fragility about her, a stark contrast to the confident woman I once knew. She spotted me and walked over, her steps hesitant. Thank you for meeting me, she said as she sat down. I nodded, unsure of what to say. The silence between us was heavy, filled with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. I know I have no right to ask for your time, she began, her voice trembling. But there's something I need to confess, something I should have told you a long time ago. My heart pounded as I listened, waiting for her to continue. After we separated, I did a lot of soul searching, she said. I realized how much I hurt you, and I've carried that guilt with me every day. But there's more to the story, something you need to know. She paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. The affair with Mark, it wasn't just an impulsive mistake. I had been unhappy for a long time, feeling unfulfilled and lost. Mark was a symptom of a deeper problem, one that I never addressed with you. I should have communicated my feelings instead of seeking solace elsewhere. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I'd spent so much time blaming her for the betrayal that I hadn't considered the underlying issues that may have contributed to our downfall. It didn't excuse her actions, but it added a layer of complexity to our story that I hadn't seen before. Why are you telling me this now? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Because you deserve to know the truth, she said, tears welling up in her eyes. And because I want to apologize, truly and deeply, for everything I put you through. I can't change the past, but I hope that by being honest, I can help you find some closure. Her vulnerability touched me in a way I hadn't expected. I realized that this conversation wasn't just for her, it was for me too. It was a chance to confront the pain head-on and finally put it to rest. I appreciate your honesty, I said after a long silence. It doesn't erase what happened, but it helps to understand. We both made mistakes, and it's time to let go of the past. We talked for a while longer, sharing memories and reflecting on what went wrong. By the time we parted ways, I felt a sense of peace that I hadn't experienced in years. Kate's confession allowed me to see the bigger picture, to recognize that our failed marriage was a shared responsibility. When I returned home, Olivia was waiting for me, her face filled with concern. "How did it go?" she asked, wrapping her arms around me. "It was enlightening," I replied, holding her close. She apologized and explained a lot of things. "It doesn't change what happened, but it helps." Olivia nodded, her eyes full of understanding. "I'm glad you got some closure." Over the next few days, I reflected on my conversation with Kate. It was clear that I had come a long way in my healing journey, but there was still more work to be done. I decided to share the experience with my therapist, hoping to gain further insights. During our next session, I recounted the meeting with Kate, focusing on the emotions it stirred within me. My therapist listened attentively, offering guidance and support. "It's important to acknowledge your feelings and give yourself permission to grieve the loss of that relationship," she said. "But it's also crucial to recognize how far you've come and the strength you've gained." Her words resonated with me, reinforcing my commitment to moving forward. I realized that my healing wasn't just about letting go of the past. It was about embracing the future with an open heart and a clear mind. As the weeks turned into months, I continued to grow and evolve. Olivia and I faced challenges together, but our bond remained strong. We communicated openly, addressing any doubts or fears that arose, and our relationship flourished as a result. One evening, as we sat on the balcony watching the sunset, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. I had been through so much, but I'd come out the other side stronger and more resilient. I knew that no matter what the future held, I was ready to face it with Olivia by my side. Life, I realized, is a series of ups and downs, of joys and sorrows. It's how we navigate those moments that define us. And as I looked into Olivia's eyes, I knew that I had found someone who would stand by me through it all, just as I would stand by her. Together, we faced the world, with love, trust, and a renewed sense of hope. And in that moment, I knew that I had finally found the closure I needed to move forward, leaving the past behind and embracing the endless possibilities of the future. As life settled into a comfortable rhythm with Olivia, I felt more at peace than I had in years. Yet, despite the tranquility we had built, the past still had its ways of sneaking back into my thoughts. One evening, as we were preparing dinner together, my phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced at it, my heart skipping a beat when I saw Mark's name. It had been over a year since I last saw or heard from him. I hesitated for a moment before opening the message. "Ethan, can we meet? There's something important I need to talk to you about. It's about Kate." I stared at the screen, a mix of anger and curiosity boiling inside me. I had moved on from the betrayal, or so I thought. Why was Mark reaching out now, and what could he possibly have to say? Olivia noticed my distraction. "Everything all right?" she asked, her eyes filled with concern. "Yeah, it's just... Mark, he wants to meet up to talk about Kate," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Her expression softened. "Do you want to meet him?" "I'm not sure," I admitted. Part of me wants to ignore it, but another part feels like I need to hear what he has to say. "Whatever you decide, I'm here for you," Olivia said, giving my hand a reassuring squeeze. After a sleepless night, I decided to meet Mark. We arranged to meet at a coffee shop downtown. As I walked in, I spotted him sitting in a corner looking as uneasy as I felt. Taking a deep breath, I walked over and sat down. "Ethan, thanks for coming," Mark said, his voice low and filled with regret. "Let's get to the point," I replied, not wanting to drag out the inevitable. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I owe you an apology. What happened with Kate was wrong, and I regret it every day. But that's not why I asked to meet." I leaned forward, my curiosity piqued. "Then why did you?" "It's about Kate's health. She's been diagnosed with a serious illness, and she doesn't have much time left," Mark said, his voice cracking. The news hit me like a freight train. Despite everything that had happened, I couldn't ignore the deep emotional impact Kate had on my life. I felt a wave of conflicting emotions, sadness, anger, and a sense of helplessness. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked, struggling to keep my emotions in check. "Because she asked me to," Mark replied. "She wants to see you, to apologize and find some peace before it's too late." I sat back overwhelmed. The idea of seeing Kate again stirred up memories and feelings I thought I had buried. Yet, there was a part of me that understood the importance of closure, not just for Kate, but for myself as well. "I'll think about it," I said finally, standing up to leave. "Thanks for letting me know." Back at home, Olivia was waiting, her concern evident. "How did it go?" I told her everything. The news about Kate, her request to see me, and my turmoil over whether to go. Olivia listened, her support unwavering. "It's a difficult decision," she said softly, "but sometimes facing the past is the only way to truly move forward. Whatever you decide, I'll be here." Her words stayed with me, and after a few days of contemplation, I decided to see Kate. I called Mark and arranged a visit. As I drove to her place, my mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. When I arrived, Mark greeted me at the door and led me to the bedroom where Kate was resting. She looked frail, a shadow of the vibrant woman I once knew, but her eyes lit up when she saw me. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice weak but filled with emotion. I sat down beside her, feeling a lump in my throat. "Hi, Kate." "Thank you for coming," she said, tears welling up in her eyes. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I needed to see you, to tell you how sorry I am for everything." "Kate, I don't know what to say," I replied, struggling to find the right words. "You don't have to say anything," she said, reaching out to take my hand. "I just needed you to know that I never stopped caring about you. I made terrible mistakes, and I've lived with that regret every day." Her words broke something inside me. The anger, the betrayal, all of it seemed insignificant in the face of her vulnerability. "I forgive you, Kate," I said, surprising myself with the sincerity in my voice. "We both made mistakes. I hope you can find peace." We talked for a while, reminiscing about the good times and acknowledging the bad. It was cathartic, a release of emotions that had been pent up for too long. By the time I left, I felt a sense of closure that I hadn't thought possible. Returning home, I found Olivia waiting for me, as she always was. I hugged her tightly, feeling a mix of relief and gratitude. "Thank you for being here for me," I said, my voice choked with emotion. "Always," she replied, holding me close. In the following weeks, I visited Kate a few more times, each visit helping to heal old wounds. When she passed away, I felt a sense of sorrow, but also a profound sense of peace. The chapter of my life with Kate had come to a natural end, and I was finally ready to fully embrace the future with Olivia. Life, I realized, is a complex tapestry of experiences, both good and bad. It's the way we face our past, learn from it, and move forward that defines us. And with Olivia by my side, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, stronger and more resilient for the journey we had traveled. With Kate's passing, a sense of finality settled over me. The weight of the past had lifted, and I felt a renewed sense of freedom. My visits with Kate, though emotionally taxing, had given me the closure I needed to fully move forward. Olivia was my constant source of strength and support throughout this period, and our bond grew stronger with each passing day. One evening, as we sat together on the balcony, enjoying the sunset, Olivia turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Ethan, there's something I've been thinking about," she said, her voice soft but steady. I looked at her, curious. "What is it?" "We've been through so much together, and we've come out stronger on the other side," she began. "I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I think it's time we take the next step." Her words took me by surprise, but in the best way possible. I had been thinking the same thing, but hearing it from Olivia filled me with an overwhelming sense of joy. "Olivia, I've been wanting to ask you the same thing," I said, taking her hands in mine. "Will you marry me?" Tears filled her eyes as she nodded, a radiant smile spreading across her face. "Yes, Ethan, I will marry you." Our engagement was a time of celebration and anticipation. We began planning our future together, each decision bringing us closer. We found a beautiful house that felt like home from the moment we stepped inside. It was spacious and filled with light, perfect for the life we envisioned together. The months flew by, and before we knew it, our wedding day arrived. The ceremony was held in a picturesque garden, surrounded by family and friends. As I stood at the altar waiting for Olivia, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey that had led me to this moment. When Olivia walked down the aisle, she took my breath away. She was radiant, her smile lighting up the entire garden. As she joined me at the altar, we exchanged vows filled with love and promise. I promise to stand by you through the good times and the bad, to love you unconditionally, and to cherish every moment we have together, I said, my voice steady and full of conviction. I promise to be your partner, your confidant, and your best friend, Olivia responded, her eyes shining with tears. I will love you with all my heart, for all the days of my life. As we exchanged rings and shared our first kiss as husband and wife, I felt a sense of completion. This was the new beginning I had been searching for, the fresh start I needed. Our life together was filled with joy and adventure. We traveled to new places, explored new hobbies, and built a home that was a sanctuary of love and happiness. Olivia encouraged me to pursue my passions, and I supported her in all her endeavors. Our love grew deeper with each passing day, a testament to the strength and resilience we had found in each other. One evening, as we sat on our porch, reminiscing about our journey, Olivia turned to me with a smile. "Remember when we first met in that cooking class?" she asked, her eyes twinkling with amusement. I laughed, recalling the memory. "Of course. You were the one who made me believe in love again. And you were the one who showed me what it means to truly trust and open your heart," she replied, her voice filled with affection. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" "Yes, we have," I said, taking her hand, "and I wouldn't change a single moment of it." As we sat there, watching the sunset, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. The pain of the past had given way to a future filled with love and possibility. I had found my true partner in Olivia, someone who understood me, supported me, and loved me unconditionally. Life is unpredictable, and it's often the unexpected twists and turns that shape us the most. I had faced betrayal and heartbreak, but those experiences had also led me to a love that was stronger and more resilient than anything I had ever known. Olivia was my anchor, my guiding light, and together we faced the world with hope and determination. As the years passed, our love only grew stronger. We celebrated milestones, faced challenges, and supported each other through every up and down. We built a family, creating a home filled with laughter and love. And through it all, we never forgot the journey that had brought us together. One night, while Olivia was asleep, I received a phone call that sent a chill down my spine. The number was unfamiliar, but I answered anyway, hoping it wasn't an emergency. "Hello?" I said cautiously. "Ethan, it's Mark," the voice on the other end said. There was a strained urgency in his tone that immediately set me on edge. "Mark, why are you calling me in the middle of the night?" I asked, trying to keep my voice down so as not to wake Olivia. "There's something you need to know," he said, his voice shaking. "It's about Kate." My heart sank. "What about her?" "Before she passed away, Kate made some arrangements. Something she didn't tell anyone about, not even me," Mark continued. "She left a letter, and it's addressed to you. I found it among her things today." "A letter?" I repeated, feeling a knot form in my stomach. "What does it say?" "I don't know," Mark admitted. "I didn't open it, but I think it's important. Can you meet me tomorrow?" I agreed, though a sense of dread filled me. After hanging up, I lay awake for hours, my mind racing with possibilities. What could Kate possibly have left unsaid? And why now? The next day, I met Mark at a quiet park. He handed me the letter, looking as uneasy as I felt. "Here it is," he said. "I hope it brings you some peace." With trembling hands, I opened the envelope and began to read. The letter was handwritten, and as I saw Kate's familiar script, memories flooded back. "Dear Ethan, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me for what I'm about to tell you. There's a secret I've kept all these years, something I didn't have the courage to share before. It's about the child I had before we met. Her name is Emma, and she's now 10 years old. She lives with my sister in Chicago. I wanted to tell you so many times, but I was afraid of your reaction, afraid of losing you. When we divorced, I thought it best to keep it hidden, to protect Emma, but now I see that was wrong. She deserves to know her father. Ethan, I know this is a lot to take in. I understand if you're angry or hurt, but please, find it in your heart to meet Emma. She's a wonderful girl, and she deserves to know the man I once loved deeply. With all my regrets and hopes, Kate." I read the letter twice, unable to fully grasp its contents. A daughter? How could Kate have hidden this from me? The emotions surged through me: anger, betrayal, confusion, and an unexpected surge of curiosity and affection for a child I had never known. Mark watched me, his expression sympathetic. "I had no idea," he said quietly. "I'm sorry, Ethan." "I need some time to process this," I said, folding the letter and putting it in my pocket. "Thank you for bringing it to me." As I drove home, my mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. How would I tell Olivia? How would I handle meeting a daughter I never knew existed? The revelation turned my world upside down, and I felt an overwhelming need to talk to Olivia, to share this new burden and seek her guidance. That evening, I sat down with Olivia and told her everything. She listened intently, her face a mix of shock and understanding. "Ethan, this is huge," she said softly. "But we'll face it together. We need to meet Emma, to understand what this means for us." With Olivia's support, we made arrangements to visit Chicago. The days leading up to the trip were filled with anticipation and anxiety. I couldn't stop thinking about Emma, wondering what she looked like, how she would react to meeting me, and how I would feel about her. When we finally arrived, Kate's sister Sarah greeted us warmly. "Thank you for coming," she said, her eyes filled with emotion. "Emma's in the garden. She's excited to meet you." We walked through the house and out into the garden, where a young girl was playing. As she turned to face us, my heart skipped a beat. She had Kate's eyes and my smile, a perfect blend of both of us. "Emma," Sarah called gently, "this is Ethan, your father." Emma looked at me with wide eyes, a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. "Hi," she said shyly. "Hi, Emma," I replied, kneeling down to her level. "I'm Ethan. It's so nice to finally meet you." She smiled, and in that moment, all my fears melted away. I felt an instant connection, a bond that transcended the years of separation. We spent the afternoon getting to know each other, playing games and sharing stories. Olivia was by my side, her presence a comforting anchor. Over the next few months, Emma became a central part of our lives. We visited her regularly, building a relationship that was both challenging and rewarding.